Welcome to June. It is the first month of winter here in Australia and it's also my birthday month. So I'll be turning 35 on the 13th of June and I've decided that my kind of motto for the next year of life is 35, the year I thrive. However, this morning I'm not really feeling the thriving happening, so we're about to turn all of that around. I really want to just create an element of coziness, get organized, feel productive, feel a sense of like upliftedness, if you will. So we're going to reset for the month ahead. So if that's something you're keen to see, grab yourself a cuppa and let's get into the video. Now I know I typically leave my book review slash TBR section to the end of the monthly reset routine, but we're actually going to start off with that first thing today. So I had 3 books on my May reading list. The first one was The Year of Less by Kate Flanders, which I have read before. So you can already tell that's a bit of an indication that I like the book. And honestly, I'm going to rate this a 5 out of 5. I went on Amazon and I checked out some reviews of it and there were some people who just weren't really vibing with this book and I fully do not understand. It is mostly sort of based around the idea of spending less, saving more, and minimalism. One of the things that she does is throughout the year go through her entire life and apartment and minimize and declutter so many different things. She's also on her sobriety journey at the same time and making some career changes, also having some family slash lifestyle changes going on in there at the same time as well. And I like that she sort of separates the chapters into each month and talks about the different challenges on her minimalism slash spending journey during that month and also other personal challenges as well, and bringing in kind of, you know, flashback stories of different things that have been struggles or have helped her to get to where she is. I really like the personal voice. I really like that it's memoir style. And I think that even though it's Kate's story, there's a whole heap of different scenarios and lessons that you can apply to your own life. And there's also a chapter right at the very end about starting your own year of less and how to sort of apply this philosophy to your life. And I feel like every time I read this, it's really encouraging for me in terms of decluttering and minimizing my spending and thinking about my consumption and consumerism and things like that. And it's always like a really good reminder and sort of check-in for me. So this one is always going to be a 5 out of 5 book. I've also lent it to my cousin who loved it as well. So if that's sort of a journey that you want to take yourself and just sort of commit to that element of personal growth, I would definitely recommend this one. And then the second one I chose to read was Foundations. It's a devotional by Ruth and Troy Simmons. And it's based around 12 biblical truths to shape a family. I'm not actually finished this one. I'm only probably about halfway through. And the reason for that is when it says 12 biblical truth, I thought that there'd be 12 chapters and that I'd be able to sort of breeze through it. But what there is there's the 12 pillars, if you will, and underneath each of those, there's almost a whole week of devotions. So I'm just doing one devotion per day. And so obviously it's going to take me a little bit of time to get through it. I'm not like going to just stampede it and read the whole thing just to get it done in the month of May, but I will continue on reading this one through June and if necessary into July, just so I can continue to soak in some of those good lessons and ideas. I am liking it so far, but when I compare it to some of the other books that I've read by Ruth Chow Simmons, particularly Grace Laced and Beholding and Becoming, I feel like they were much they connected a lot more with me. And I feel like this one would be great if you are doing it as like a Bible study, or if you're having that time with, you know, your partner and you can talk about these things. Because I'm doing it as just a solo person, I feel like there's not that discussion and kind of depth that this book is sort of intended for. So at this point, I'm probably going to put it as maybe like a 3 or even a 3.5 out of 5. It's fine, it's good. Like, I'd recommend it if that's a situation that you're in, but certainly not one of my favorites. And I unintentionally did this, but we're like weaving down the quality of books, because my last one is Walden. Now, my sister lent this to me and she said, "You're not gonna like it." And I'm like, well, I'll just read it anyway. Who knows, I may like it. I do not like it. This is a crap book. Do not read, honestly. I wasted this much of my time on it, and in saying that, I had to skip a lot of pages in this because this bloke just waffles. He is just talking crap. He starts talking one thing and then that like deviates into like all these different tangents, and he spends so much time just like pondering things and waffling on about different things. Like, it says in the back, one man's account of his solitary and self-sufficient home in the New England woods. Now, I thought that it would be like mostly about him building that home and what it was like there. And it's true, like that is the dominant aspect of the story, but he's kind of just going on like random tangents throughout everyday life. So if he's talking about the clothes that he's wearing whilst living out in the woods, then he starts some like philosophical discussion about, you know, different clothes that are appropriate for different occasions and different types of people, and what it means to be a neighbor and things. And it just wasn't it. It was very boring, and obviously it's a classic, so it's written in like a little bit more of an old-fashioned kind of dialogue, so you have to think a lot about what he's trying to say and get to the crux of it. And there's a lot more like metaphorical and descriptive type language that I think is a little bit unnecessary. So I am not going to persevere with this book. I'm going to return it to its owner. And I would not recommend. I'm probably going to rate this like a 1 out of 5. So, I mean, I'm glad I had the Year of Less as like a really good highlight of the May reading, but it wasn't like a balanced, like joyful reading session. So I'm kind of hoping that we change things up in June and we have a little bit more thrilling or exciting or like feel-good books coming my way. So I selected 2 books for June because obviously I'm continuing on with foundations, and I have already started this one because I sacrificed Walden, so I had a little bit of extra time after I finished the Year of Less to really get into a book, and I have already cracked through quite a bit. I'm not quite at the halfway mark, but I'm at least like a third of the way through this. It's The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. Not even going to pretend to pronounce his last name correctly, but it says, Alicia Berenson lived a seemingly perfect life until one day 6 years ago when she shot her husband in the head 5 times. Since then, she hasn't spoken a single word. It's time to find out why. So this is definitely my more darker thriller crime type book. Only she knows what happened. Only I can make her speak. And I was mentioning this at Mother's Group the other day, and I was talking to a friend who has this on her TBR as well, and her sister had recently read it and said that she really enjoyed it, so hopefully I will as well. I'm liking it so far, what I've gotten into, but I'm not going to develop any opinions on it or reviews on it yet. We'll save that for my July reset. And then I wanted to counterbalance that with something a little bit more sort of sweet and uplifting. So we've got One Night on the Island by Josie Silver, One Cottage, Two Strangers, Every Great Love Story Starts Somewhere. And it says, Cleo writes about love stories every day. She just isn't living one of her own. When the editor of her dating column asked her to marry herself on a remote Irish island. A sensational piece to mark Cleo's 30th birthday. Cleo agrees. She's alone but not lonely, right? She can handle a solo adventure. Cleo arrives at her luxury cabin to find a tall, dark, stubborn American who insists it's actually his. Mac refuses to leave and Cleo won't budge either. With the storm fast approaching, they reluctantly hunker down together. It's just one night after all, but what if one night on the island is just the beginning? So I feel like this is going to be very sort of similar theme to the Spanish love deception, which I read the previous month, where we've got our enemies to lovers kind of situation. I really like that we're like a cozy cabin vibe as well. It's very wintry, very Gilmore Girls-esque, and I guess that's why I chose that for June, because I felt like it was definitely giving those cozy, uplifting winter vibes. So that is my TBR for the month ahead. What are you reading this upcoming month? Do you have any book recommendations? Leave those down in the comments below. We are on to the cleaning and decorating portion of my monthly reset video, and I'm starting off by setting up a winter tablescape for my dining room table, and this has been one of my fun little hobbies of late. I really liked how my autumn one turned out. I did buy 2 pumpkins for that as decor, which I will end up using as pumpkin soup. I'm very excited to make that. My mum makes the best pumpkin soup, but I have never tried it before, so I'm going to try my hand at that. And this is my little winter one. I just wanted to use bits and pieces that I already had around the house, so I kept the candle jug and dried eucalyptus that I had previously, and then I just added in a few more items and some more wintry coloured books to kind of have that sort of cozy and gloomy type feel. While I'm on to doing some chores around the house, I'm going to fold up a few clothes that were drying in our room and hang out a few more clothing items. I've taken to putting our little clothes horse in my bedroom because it gets a lot of sun throughout the day, and it just helps things to dry a lot quicker, because I've been having a lot of trouble getting things to dry in this sort of gloomy weather. And while I'm at doing a bit of decorating, I decided to redo my bookcase. I'm trying to be conscious of how much money I'm spending, and I am one of those people who gets bored of things really often. So when I get bored of something, rather than buying something new, I've taken to sort of fishing around the house for things that I already have and seeing if I can redesign, reconfigure and redecorate. Lots of re's going on there. So I'm doing that to my bookcase. I had the middle section there as just rainbow, but I decided to have 2 rainbow sections. So that's made it a whole heap more fun as a little backdrop for my filming. And then I am going to, for the first time, take the covers off this lounge and give it a wash. I was a bit nervous how it would sort of turn out washing them in the machine. I didn't want to ruin them, but I just knew that hand washing would take too long for them to dry. But thankfully it turned out so good. So now I know that I have that as a very easy option when I need to get these covers looking all sprucey, because a certain brown 4-legged friend, without invitation, mind you, decided that he was going to, on multiple occasions, nestle up on my lovely new white-coloured lounge. I mean, it's not white, it's an off-white, it's a light colour, but it's not meant for the dog. And the dog had taken himself there. So safe to say I was pretty unhappy about that, and the covers definitely needed a wash. I mean, mind you, I often did breastfeeding on this lounge, so it was the recipient of a lot of Hunter's spew as well, so it was desperate need of like a refresh. So I'm so glad with how that turned out, and after having the covers all nice and cleaned, that lounge is so fluffy now, and I just don't want to sit on it and ruin the aesthetic, but at some point someone's going to have to. But I'm really glad that it's nice and clean and fresh. After that's done, I'm going to go around and do a touch more cleaning, both in the living room and then also in our ensuite bathroom. I'm just doing some more dusting and vacuuming, and then I'm going to switch out some of the bits that I've got on the coffee table and just rearrange where I have decor around the living room area. And then in our ensuite bathroom, I did need to do a little bit more of a deep clean, spraying the shower as well because it had a fair bit of mold in it. I am getting Dave to cut out the silicone and redo that, so hopefully we won't have any more of a mold problem, because we are living in a brand new house, and considering that I make cleaning videos, it really irks me to have mold growing in my shower, and just as an aesthetic thing as well as a health thing as well. So I'm so glad that I've got the house looking nice and tidy and reorganized for this winter season, creating that cozy and calm atmosphere. But if the sky would open up, you're staying home, you don't get out. You always used to love the rain, but LA changed you. No rain, no flowers, nothing's growing where your heart is fire. But baby, I bet you're cold without me, even when it's 90 degrees. Without me, I bet that you can get any sleep in that bed, lying awake, 'cause I'm not there beside you, keeping you warm, and I know I bet you're cold. You're so damn cold. You're cold. You're so damn cold. Okay, let's talk goals. I set 3 goals for myself for the month of May, and I was altogether mostly successful in meeting those. So my 3 goals were daily time with God, limit of 2 out-of-house coffees per week, and 2 YouTube videos a week. I definitely nailed my 2 YouTube videos a week, which is fantastic. I really wanted to get back into the habit of uploading 2 a week for you guys, and I feel like with my new sort of coffee and conversation series, which is a lot more relaxed and laid back and easy to film and edit, it has made it a lot more manageable to do that, as well as putting out my usual ones like my clean with me's and organization and cozy days, things like that. So that's been great. My daily time with God has also been quite good and quite achievable, in the sense that I have been reading a devotional, which is my book of the month. So that has just been like super easy to integrate that into my day. And as I've been reading that devotional, it's sort of brought up like different things that maybe I'm struggling with or challenged by, and that sort of led to time with prayer, whether it's either you know, gratitude type prayer or something that I really need some help with. My 2 out-of-house coffees a week. I did say in last month's reset video that I wasn't sure how I felt about even setting this goal and whether I wanted to challenge myself to do this, because those coffees are more than just like me being frivolous with spending my money. They're very intentional mental health time. What I have done is I have mostly eradicated the random drive that I would take up to Macca's and get my Macca's takeaway coffee with the intention of having my coffee moment, but also getting Hunter to sleep. I've mostly been able to limit my sleeps, nap times to at home, so that's been good. But I had found this goal a bit of a nuisance, in the sense that I'm really trying to prioritize social connection and getting out of the house. So on Thursdays, I have my mother's group. Now on Mondays, we have this little story time and sing session at the library, and there's a cafe there. So oftentimes, me and a couple of my friends will stay back afterwards and grab a coffee and just sit and have a chat. So if I'm getting a coffee at mother's group and at the library on Monday, then technically, like, according to my goal, I'm not allowed to get any more out of house coffees for the rest of the week. But then, you know, I've had other times where I've gone for a walk with friends and we've ended up at a coffee shop, or, you know, different scenarios, and felt like I haven't been able to buy a coffee, even though the social situation kind of not necessitates that I need a coffee, but it's sort of a nice aspect to that time. So I feel like the first probably week of May, definitely nailed my 2. Second week of May, I was like finding it a bit of a struggle, and I was having to like make one at home to take to a meetup or something like that. So I wasn't buying one. But then by the 3rd week of May, where I was getting invited to hang out with friends and go for walks and get coffees and things like that, I'm like, this is a stupid goal and it's just not working for me. So sometimes you do need to do that. You need to revise the plans and the goals that you have for yourself. Maybe then not something that's just going to work in with your lifestyle. Maybe you set it with like good intentions, but really you don't have a passion for that goal. And it is totally fine to revise or even just like completely eliminate a goal if it's just not working for you. So yes, I tried that one. I understand that I was trying to come from a savings perspective, but I think if I want to save money, I just need to leave the coffees alone for this point, and I need to find other realms in my budget that I can cut down on costs. So we're not touching the coffees. But speaking of goals, I have sort of thought of a few that I'd like to set for June, and they are mostly financial based actually. So that's kind of like a nice segue. I'm not going to do my budget overview for May in this video. I was going to, but I've decided that I'd actually prefer to do a video maybe in the start of July, where I need to learn like spreadsheets and stuff like that and just get really organized with things and actually track categories for the first 6 months of the year. So I feel like that's going to be my first goal of June, is I want to create and stick to a budget, get myself some sort of spreadsheet situation happening, and start plugging in all the data from the last 6 months so that I can create a bit of a visual for that and really just see areas that I am spending unnecessarily. Like obviously some things are necessities. And then goal number 2 is get inside the house finalized like as much as possible, which will necessitate spending. There are rooms in the house where we want to get, you know, blinds and curtains for. We want to finish off the furniture. So I will need to spend some things there, but I'm just being like really intentional. I've taken my time in planning out and picking out the things that I want for this place, so that I know I'm not just going to purchase something that's like it's good for now and then regret it later and then have to spend more money. So I'm being really intentional with my furniture and decor choices, but I do want to particularly get the media room finalized and maybe even also the spare room as well. If I don't get both of those done in June, I think definitely the media room is the sort of area that we're focusing on now. We have lay-by to lounge, which did come into my May spending. So the spending category for May was quite high because I put a deposit on that, and then I also put a first payment on that as well. But to kind of counteract the spending that I'm going to be doing on, you know, the fitting out of the house, I do want to set aside an additional $1,000 onto our loan. So that will be $500 per fortnight for the month of June. So I'm setting aside some money for the loan and savings. I'm setting aside some money for getting some rooms in the house finalized, and then I'm going to be creating like a bit of a bigger picture budget and spreadsheet to kind of track a bit more my spendings slash savings. So all of my goals for June are very financial based, which sort of fits in nicely because we are end of financial year, and at some point during June I'll be booking in to get my tax done in July. So I definitely need to add that to the to-do list, and hopefully I get some tax back, and that will help with any other room projects or landscaping projects that we've got happening, because there's definitely a lot that needs to be done outside as well as finalizing things inside. So that's kind of my vision for this month. It's about saving, it's about tracking, and it's about trying to get things ticked off what seems to be a never-ending to-do list. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me as we get refreshed, reset for the month of June. I know those living in the Northern Hemisphere, you are entering into summer. What a beautiful season. And for us down here in the South, we are traveling into the cold and quiet winter season, which has its own beauty. And I have a whole heap of very wintry inspired cozy content coming for you in the next couple of months. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe down below. I upload new videos every single week, 2 a week as per my goal. And with that, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye guys.